Hello, dear.
It's crazy.
We'll jump into your gastritis.
Yeah.
How did that come up? Is it stress related?
I think so, but I also I fucked around and like drank like 4 cups of coffee for a decade.
Oh yeah,
2 Diet Cokes.
yeah,
Nicotine lozenge.
for sure.
Spicy food.
Yeah,
All those every day for 2 decades probably.
yeah.
So
Are you still drinking 4 cups of coffee a day?
No, I drink 1.
Okay, nice.
And that's just like 2 weeks that I've been back on coffee. I took like a fucking 6-week break.
Oh, I heard that's crazy to do that. That when you get back on coffee after a 6-week break, it feels like a hallucinogenic drug.
Yeah, especially cold brew. I had
Yeah.
one time that I was like, oh, I'm not okay. But it really sucked to drink like no coffee and just drink like a cup of green tea a day
Yeah, why did you do that?
because you have to like reset your system.
Oh, because of your
ulcer. Yeah,
Yes, that's right. Okay.
Before I did it, and I was just like trying to be regular.
Yeah.
I drank like a cup of cold brew one day before like I had 3 shows, and my entire internal like abdomen felt like it was on fire.
Oh man, that's horrible.
And I was like trying to do stand up and just the whole time.
And how did the excessive intake of coffee correlate with, because you're sober now, right?
Yeah.
When you were not sober.
I was never a drinker like that.
Okay, yeah. So
Because I just was so bad at it. When I drank like that, I would just black out. I wasn't like a guy who drank every day or
Right.
like sat around getting like, some people when they drink, they like are drunk in the morning.
Sure, yes.
I was never that. I was always like, oh, I'm an alcoholic and I'm bad at this, but like I can't quit drinking. Like what would I do?
Right. Oh, interesting.
And so I would go out with people. I mean, for a while I would just fuck up a bunch, but then
Yeah.
in my mid-20s I started being like, all right, everybody, I'm gonna drink tonight. Just beware,
Yeah. This is an issue for me, or
Yeah, like I'm an alcoholic, and I'm probably gonna try to like finger your girlfriend, and things like that. But then, I just quit. So,
But what about weed? Was weed?
I smoked weed every day for like 4 years, and then I like was pretty depressed, and a lot of good stuff was happening in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this isn't adding up. And actually, Gerard Carmichael, who's the first gay comedian, he was like, you got to stop that. And at the time, that meant a lot to me that he would kind of tell me that. He was nicer to me then too. So it kind of
Has he not been nice to you recently?
No, he's never been unkind to me, but he's so famous now, and
Yeah, for
his
sure.
kind of persona's changed so much.
It has.
that
It's true.
I would feel like he'd say, you know what? I said hi to him after he hosted SNL, and he was like gracious, but it was kind of like,
He's like, I have better things to.
Future's
yeah.
right over here.
Yes,
I
exactly.
can talk
Yeah.
to Future or all these other famous people.
He was always nice to me in, between the years of 2014 to 2017, I guess. And since
In LA?
In LA. And then one time I opened for him in Philly, and he was very nice
That's good.
to me then, but haven't seen him since. And I assume that he would behave similarly. Do you watch his HBO show?
I tried to watch a little bit of it. It was pretty self-indulgent. I didn't
Yeah.
really find a lot of joy in it. But, he's going through his personal journey. He's
Yeah.
allowed to do that.
I only watched the Jamar episode, but I found it fascinating.
I would actually like to watch that because Jamar isn't comfortable with it, right?
No, Jamar's mad about it. It is edited in a way when you watch it, it's like so selectively edited where when he's performing, it's like seems like he's bombing, and you're like, he might not be bombing. It's like obvious to you that he might not be bombing, but
Jamar?
Yeah.
Well, Jamar, the interesting thing about Jamar is that I've seen Jamar bomb a lot for a little bit of a set. Like I've seen Jamar be in like a room where it seemed like there's no way he's going to come back from this.
Yeah.
And then
No, I know. He's incredible.
He pulls it out.
He's a true artist.
Yeah.
He's avant-garde, I would say.
Yeah, I think he's like one of the only people that's like probably doing stuff like that. There's a few of those guys out there that are like still like alty and really creative. But Jamar, I don't even think the thing that's interesting about Jamar is he's not one of these people that's like thinking about it.
No,
he's not
no.
going like,
He paints.
Yeah. And I like his paintings.
I like his painting too.
They
It's
remind
very
me
good.
of Action Bronson.
Okay, does
Kinda
Action Bronson paint as
crude.
well?
Yeah, like crude, childlike kind of art.
Did you see the one Jamar did of Kobe?
I don't think so.
It's very offensive. It's a painting of Kobe flying a helicopter going, I got this.
Great.
And he posts it on Instagram, and he's from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude.
That lost.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I mean, it's really beautiful.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's like kind of nice. Like, oh man, what a genius.
He, I don't know. It's weird because Ari got like a bunch of stuff taken away for tweeting.
Yeah. But the one that Ari did was way dumber and worse. And
it was also the day of.
I know. Yeah. This, I don't know. This just, I mean, I have a friend in my life who's like a massive Kobe Bryant fan and was like genuinely heartbroken when he died. I haven't sent him this.
Filipino?
No, not Filipino, but grew up in LA. You might know Devin Costa.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I was like,
Devin would get a kick out of this.
I don't know. It could be Devin's sense of humor would track.
This is Devin's sense of humor, but
Kobe is it's like essentially Devin's father. Like it would be, yeah.
Don't you think? I mean, here's the thing. I think this is funny, but I do think that we've kind of crossed a line as a culture where there's just always like a 9/11 or a Kobe or like a Eric Clapton's son joke.
Yes.
It's just been totally normalized.
That's true.
And I'm not trying to be the comedy police here, but I think it's kind of like everybody's so fucking like irony pilled.
Yeah.
And, like the biggest show in the world, Kill Tony, is like mainly just like autistic and disabled people trying to stand up and being made fun of by
when you say the biggest show in the world, is that an accurate metric? Like, is it truly like, because the viewership it gets is kind of astounding. So
I think for what it is, like a YouTube show that is weekly, I think it's probably the biggest show in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm probably wrong. There's probably like some Indonesian show where it's like
right,
are challenged to like recite verses of the Quran that gets more. That's actually a sport in Indonesia.
Is that true?
That? Yeah, memorizing the Quran.
Oh my god, that's cool. This actually takes me to a section I want to get to with you, which is you do crowd work a lot where you'll be like, tell me any country in the world.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what's going on there.
Yeah, I've
seen you do that a couple of times. I don't know if you do it often.
I was doing it because I thought it was like kind of, I don't know, interesting. But then I was like, this kind of sucks. And so I stopped doing it.
Oh, really? I like it.
I like it in the sense that it's like, it is what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I had like a live show too, like a live stream where I like just went around Google Earth and made fun of stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And if I had the bandwidth to sustain it, I have a 10-month-old at home, so it's been hard. Yeah. Like what I want to do is I want to like move to the suburbs and get like a basement that I can like create like a studio with. And
dude, awesome. The dream.
That kind of shit.
The modern day showbiz dream.
Yes. Yeah. I would love to live like in Westchester.
Yeah.
And have like a big basement that's my streaming / podcast studio.
I think that's within reach for you guys. You don't think so?
Oh, it totally is.
Yeah.
It's just my wife
writes for SNL, so it'd be.
And she also just kind of doesn't want to. She wants to, even though we do,
fair,
we do nothing in New York, like New Yorkie. We don't go to the Met. We don't walk around Central Park.
Yeah.
We don't go to like new restaurants. We just order from like the same 6 restaurants and walk to the Comedy Cellar.
That's life. Yeah, I think everybody kind of grows into their habits. But I wanted to say, could we try that now?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me. And so I've got some easy ones and some hard ones. Maybe they're all easy for you. I don't know. Let's start with an easy one. Switzerland.
I mean, here's the thing about it is that I know not like specifically the same thing about every country. Like Jeff Asmuth can tell you the capital, right, of every single country. But I can kind of tell you, like Switzerland's interesting. Like all of Central and Eastern Europe, it's taken a rightward switch. Actually, all of continental Europe, it's taken a right shift towards conservatism, populist, nationalist.
Is that because of all the refugees?
Yes, it's 100% because of the refugees. It's racism. It's people that are like, what? But how could all these black and brown people be Swiss?
Right. Yeah.
Switzerland is great. I've actually done like kind of a lot of gigs there. I did like a 4-day tour of Switzerland.
Yes, you toured in Europe a lot.
I was.
Okay.
Then I had a baby.
Yeah.
But they have the highest gun ownership per capita in the world.
Oh wow.
And they don't shoot each other.
What would you attribute? Well, they're not shooting each other. I can imagine
free healthcare.
But I mean, why do they have so many guns?
I think they're like outdoorsy people. I think they hunt. I don't think they're like, they don't have AR-15.
I was going to say they probably don't have rocket launchers, Like
there's hunting all over the world.
Yeah.
And you're allowed to have like a shotgun or a rifle.
Yeah.
there's a lot of places where you can have handguns just because there's no laws.
For
like
sure.
all of Central America, you can like walk around with a handgun in your belt.
Yeah.
But Switzerland, I think it's just people are going hunting, killing shit for food or fun, which I'm not a huge fan of. What's the other thing? Oh, Switzerland is half French, half German.
Yes.
So
I knew that.
You like cross, like I took the train and you like cross, and it's so funny because it's culturally like you can see the shift. Like Zurich, it's all like we're going to work and we're bankers.
Yes,
and,
yes,
you know,
yes.
like we're very like
Orderly.
efficient and orderly. And then you get over to the French side of it in Geneva, and it's like all these like fat guys in polo shirts with Bugattis and like you know like a Croatian slave. You know.
That doesn't sound particularly French to me. That sounds like something else. That sounds like Russian.
There's a sleaziness to
France is sleazy.
to
That's
France.
true. Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's
where
true.
you can be disgusting and still
Yeah.
be like a hot commodity.
Right.
You will see the grossest men.
Yeah,
in-
yeah. I mean, Gerard Depardieu. I guess that's like the
Yeah.
the hottest French man. Okay.
Or there's that famous what's his name, Serge Gainsbourg
Yes.
thing where all the kids are, and he's like the grossest human you've
Yeah.
ever seen, and he slept with every single like he was like Leo levels.
Yeah, that's funny. I mean, that's
poontang.
coming back around almost. I feel like women on TikTok sometimes have surprising tastes in like men they find hot, where they're like, oh, he's actually
yeah.
like, you know,
I think a lot of women thought Louis was hot.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Anyways, that's Switzerland.
Argentina.
I think this is still going on. I think the president of Argentina is the wife of the former president.
Not anymore.
Did
Yeah.
it just change over?
Javier Milei, who's
Oh,
like
that's right. Yeah, he's their Trump. He's
Yeah,
like got this
yeah.
like weird thing. He cloned his dog. That was something that was interesting about
Oh,
Milei.
wow, yeah.
And also there'd been this protest in front of the Capitol by these indigenous people for like 16 years, like this encampment. And the day he became president, he just like brought the army in and
Yeah.
just kicked them out. Argentina is interesting because it's like it should be.
Whoa, he looks crazy.
Yeah, he's nutty.
Wow.
It should be the strongest economy in South America, besides Brazil. Brazil has so much manufacturing and agriculture, but like Argentina is like classically infrastructure, like brain power, like education, things like that.
They were the richest country at one point, like in the early 20th century.
Yeah, I think it was like around the Eva Perón type of shit. But they've done so much bad business and it's so corrupt. Really good documentary. I forget the name of it, but there's a documentary on Netflix about the guy who was getting ready to prosecute. I want to say like he was getting ready to prosecute the attorney general, essentially.
Yeah.
And he got, they found him having shot himself in the head in a place where like the door was locked from the outside.
Oh yeah,
You know, like that
was
kind of
that
thing?
was it? I think I remember this news story, and was it related to
The bombing.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, the bombing of the Jewish Community Center in the 90s.
Yeah, by actually a Hezbollah cell.
yeah, right. Okay, Algeria.
Algeria, former French colony, capital Algiers, has like actually like a weirdly Islamic kind of like almost it's democratic, but it's like highly Islamist.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually kind of like chill now after years and years
Oh,
and years.
nice.
But
Still Islamist, so the chill Islamism.
yeah, like I think they've actually kind of gotten their shit together.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
and also I think you can visit Algiers. Interesting thing about like North Africa that most people don't know is that they, especially Algeria and Morocco and a few maybe into Tunisia, but in the mountains they speak Berber, which is a completely different language than Arabic.
Yeah, I've heard of Berber, but I don't know anything about it. It's just a language that
Just another language.
yeah.
And that's where Camus was. He was
Right.
up in the mountains of
I knew
Algiers.
that. Then isn't that where he was born? That's where?
Yeah, he's Algerian.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of French guys that were born Algerian, and they really, it's so funny because they like went down to Algeria, the French, in the, I don't know, 20s, 30s, probably before that, probably actually way before that.
Yeah.
But it's a colony, and then they're like trying to create like a little France too in Algiers and around there, and then like, you know, obviously there's a lot of back and forth like migration, and then they lose the colony through
Yeah.
revolution, and then like there's all these Algerians in France, and they're like mad at them for being in France.
Right,
Like
yeah.
they're like all these like racist colonialists, and they're like, why are there so many brown people? It's kind of a trope around Europe.
It is, yeah. Is Zidane Algerian or is he Moroccan?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's Algerian. Yeah, his mom was fully Algerian.
Yeah, so one of the great,
and that was
one of the great exports of
when
France.
Totti. I think it was Totti when Totti got headbutted.
Yeah,
was it Totti?
Italian. Yeah, I don't know, some Italian guy, but I don't know.
I think it was Totti.
He was saying something fucked up about.
He was calling his mom like a Muslim pig or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Who's he? Italy's Marco. Oh no, it's Marco. Fuck, I can't believe I can't remember this. This is like my sport. Like soccer. If you hit more, it might say.
Yeah. Do you want to watch it?
Yeah, sure. I watched this with my stepmom in 2006.
Oh wow.
No wait, 2000. Yeah, 2006.
Still your stepmom or no longer your stepmom?
Always my stepmom.
Oh, nice.
35 years.
Great.
Smokes a pack a day.
Nice.
Number 5? Yes, he said something about his mom.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, man.
What a little bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Materazzi. Yeah.
Damn, dude.
It was such an insane moment.
At one point, do you think he said it? Can you play to the beginning, Scott?
It's very
like,
obviously like he's like walking away. You see it. Right there.
Yeah. Damn.
Dude. So funny.
The commentating's funny. Not sure there's ever a proper time for a headbutt, but the equivocating's funny.
I was like watching it, and there was like this moment where it was just like everybody was like, wait, Zidane's about to get kicked out of the... This was the final.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It was so insane. But yeah, I was in the basement of my dad used to have like a big cul-de-sac-y home theater in the basement.
Oh, nice.
And not really like that nice, but you know, like
oh,
America.
It's fun. I don't know.
You know, juice packs, that kind of shit. I was fully an adult. I was like 20 something, 24.
Had you started stand up yet?
Yeah, I was like 2 years in.
Yeah.
I started 2004. I started like a week after I left my second open mic, and they were talking about that giant tsunami in Indonesia.
Oh wow!
So that was the mark. That's where I started. But yeah, this was great. Really don't like the Italians, not as a people, but as a football team.
I have a question about your stand-up that I'll just ask you now, since you mentioned starting. What was your first reliable closer?
Man, I'm a very bad like turnover material guy.
Yeah.
Like if you see me in the city, it's almost always going to be different.
Yeah.
But I get on the road, I get nervous, and I want everybody who paid for a ticket to have a good show. So I think for like 6 years I closed, and I was new. 6 years isn't that much, but I had this joke about I was in DC, and my dentist asked me if I smoked meth, and I was like, she was like, not to offend you, but do you smoke meth? And I was like, okay, how are you not offending me? Like, meth is pretty like, and also at this point I didn't realize that like gay dudes smoked meth to have like parties.
I didn't know. I didn't.
They have sex parties on meth. Yeah.
Oh my god.
You meet a lot of guys in recovery who are like, I was a meth addict,
right?
And it all was sex. But yeah, it was just about like the dentist and about that thing, and then I kind of went into like how insane the relationship with the dentist is, because the dentist will always just be like, yeah, you got to take all this bone out of your head, and you know, we just go okay, and then they drive like an Audi, and you're like, why am I giving you so much money?
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you still stand behind that joke, as far as like I always am curious what jokes people feel embarrassed
rock
by.
bottom is kind of a funny name for this, because it kind of implies that their bottom is really firm. Yeah, this is a double entendre, maybe triple.
That's nice.
Sobriety, hard ass. Yeah, maybe nothing. I like that the second O is also a meth pipe. That's great.
This is good graphic design.
This is such a funny documentary. And also from the director of Undetectable and Life and Death on the A List. All right. I'm going to have a general with all of these people next week. Jay Corcoran and me are going to.
Do you have any jokes you regret?
Yeah, I mean, I probably had some trans jokes.
Yeah. Like
back in the day that I like kind of wouldn't tell now. Right. And I also had some jokes. I've had jokes recently where it's like, you know, I'm very middle of the road. I have some offensive jokes. I have stuff just occurs to me. I don't have an agenda though. That's the thing, is I'm just trying to have fun, make people laugh.
Right.
And I think I can get, you know, if I'm like, around a certain group of people too much, I can be like, I gotta get like darker and dirtier and shit like this.
Wait,
or
so
like,
if you're around comics whose material tends to be dark and dirty,
yeah, like I was at Mothership for a week
I could imagine that,
and I was like, you know, telling my jokes about being a sissy and kinda like not being fitting in as a man and
right,
New York type shit. And then you know, I found myself like being like kind of struggling, and I was like, fuck, let's turn it up.
Yeah.
And so I was like, started leaning in. I remember I have this joke I don't really tell a lot. It's about how like, you know, like I go to Starbucks and it's because they don't expect a tip. You know, they're like, fuck you. And you're like, yeah, fuck you too. And you take their gross coffee. When you go to like a little coffee shop, they flip the iPad over and they expect you to like sign for their new apartment.
Right.
And I kind of talked about how like it's so weird how everybody expects every job to provide a living wage. And I was like, not every job should provide, you know, some jobs are for losers and teenagers. And I got like the biggest, I got like a round of applause from like a bunch of shit kickers.
Yeah.
And in the moment I was like, I'm killing.
Yeah.
And then I look back on it and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like just embracing fascism for approval. It was great.
Oh man, yeah, that's a very Texas. I mean, that is a funny joke, and I could see you doing that in New York, and you probably have, and it does well. But yeah,
it does okay. Sometimes, you know, like I would, like it started with me going to Starbucks and being like, I'm not going to boycott Starbucks.
Yeah,
like the Gazans, they don't have a coffee shop on my block. I would love to go support that, but Starbucks is on my corner.
Yeah,
essentially like that. And I would go to like Sesh, and I would get like crickets.
Yeah,
I think I've bombed, and I'm not a bad comic. I don't think I'm a bad comic, but I've bombed. I think 85% of the time I've gone up at Sesh.
Yeah, same. Yeah,
because it's just like it's all these girls, and they're like in marketing, and they're out for a night
for sure.
And it's like I'm a sad 40-year-old.
Yeah, that's a lot. But I would say that isn't that a lot of stand-up audiences is like girls in marketing out for not like I guess it depends on where you go, but I feel like in Manhattan that would be a lot of the audience as well.
I mean, but it's for some reason
but they're
like
more willing to hear things that might be offensive, I guess.
I don't know if it's just because it's more mixed, but like the Cellar, I don't have that problem.
Sure,
like, the Cellar, I feel like I have dud sets where I'm like, that was whatever.
Yeah.
But I never bomb.
Sure.
And I can fully like I can go like just be at crickets.
Yeah.
At Sesh for some reason.
And then when you bomb now, because you've been good at stand up for a long time. So is there a point where you're like, maybe I'm bad at this, or are you just like, that was just a set?
Oh no, all the time. I mean, first of all, I write all the time.
Yeah.
But I can go up, like, I've been doing comedy every night for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I'll go up and I'll be like, this is a good joke. And it will get nothing.
Yeah.
And there's no other art form, I think, where you are like, do something like nobody plays an instrument.
Sure.
And then they like pick it up and they're like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And it's just not music.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you're like, I'm great at handling an audience no matter the situation. I can always have an aside. I can be self-deprecating. I have the timing and all that. But and also it's just like it's insane now because we all do the same bullshit to try to get attention and try to get followers that then generate ticket sales. And you see some people who are making like, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a weekend. And you're like, I made 2, you know, and you're like, I must be bad at this.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I think that's, you know, I think it's like, it's the nature of doing something creative. And also half the time, like I look at somebody who's like, you know, making that kind of money. I'm like, they suck.
Well, I think if you apply it to, for example, you know, some paintings are worth like $100 million and then some paintings are worth $1,000. And realistically, as an outsider to the form, you're not like that painting is, you know,
but you know what's weird?
100,000 times better than the other painting.
The weird thing is I think it's the opposite. That's the funny thing about it. Is I feel like comedy right now is in a place where everybody is like, I gotta get an Edward or a Thomas Kincaid. You know, I gotta get like just a real fucking exactly what I want it to be comedy.
You think the audience is like that?
Yeah.
They want to tailor, well, because that's how algorithms are. Algorithms tailor.
They want it to be like big and boomy and kind of headliney.
Yeah.
And then they also want like their like words covered. You know, like
Yeah.
almost all the big comics that are like big from the internet.
Yeah.
almost all of them are just like an SEO search engine. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like trans, border, you know,
Right.
cancel, whatever, woke, like all that kind of shit where you're like, nobody's been canceled.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a single. I mean, the people that truly did heinous things, I would say they were.
They didn't even. They got exonerated.
Yeah. Well, I don't even mean like Kevin Spacey, I guess. But
Fine.
Did he get exonerated? I guess he might have.
He got. I don't know. He's not allowed to make good movies anymore, but he's living.
He's
in
making
a
lot of
mansion.
movies in like Serbia.
Yeah. Louis, I don't think is like comparable, but he's fine.
No,
he's
sure,
selling
yeah.
on Madison
Yeah,
Square
yeah.
Garden. Fucking what's his name is out. What's his the Harvey Weinstein's out.
Harvey Weinstein's out of prison?
Yeah,
Damn.
isn't he? Yeah, Harvey Weinstein's. He might.
Bill Cosby's out of
Bill
prison.
Cosby's out. I think
Yeah.
Harvey is out. I don't know, but I know that he got exonerated or
Yeah,
whatever.
Damn.
Delia's still selling
Yeah,
out theaters.
Sure.
You know, it's like I don't know why everybody's talking about cancel culture. There's a few guys out there that got like fucked over from like some kind of like.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know why we're still talking about it. And I'm fine, you know, if that's like your whatever.
Yeah.
But it's so silly to me when we have like such a perilous time in the universe
Yeah.
that people are like,
This is the real issue.
But I can't say, you know, I can't make a racist joke. You know, like,
Yeah.
Also, I think it's very funny. I have a joke premise. I'll do it right now, but
Yeah.
it's just
Tell
how
me.
many how many men are like into warrior stuff. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, I'm doing the warrior workout and the warrior diet, and I'm a warrior and all this stuff. And then like they're like, but I also was not allowed to say exactly what I wanted, and so I'm gonna throw a big hissy fit about it. Yeah, this guy sucks, and I don't know if that's on screen, but I'm saying it in this room that that guy sucks.
What's on your algorithm when you get on Instagram? What are the things you're getting served?
A lot of kid stuff, a lot of like kids playing in, you know, like natural settings and parenting kind of stuff like that. A lot of Mediterranean real estate and northern upstate New York real estate.
Okay. Wait, why Mediterranean real estate?
Because I love like the Côte d'Azur and you know like I love the Mediterranean. I spent one summer, not the whole summer, but I went to like outside of Marseille. There's this place called the Calanques, which are like these giant finger kind of like what do you call that? Like a canyon that goes out to the sea. It's basically like
there's
like
probably
imagine
a
like
geological
this.
word for it.
Like this,
Yeah.
and each of these is like a turquoise private beach at the end of each, and it's a whole national park. But I love that shit. It's so funny to me too because I go to those places and I'm like, wow, this is the most beautiful place in the world, i.e., Greece. It's gorgeous. And then they move to Queens, and you're like, what was it? What brought you away from this, you know, gorgeous paradise where, you know, the fish jump out of the sea onto your plate? And then you just
The
like
beautiful opportunities of Astoria.
you're just sucking in asbestos outside of your diner.
Oh, speaking of which, what's going on in Macedonia?
North or south? North or
Tell me.
regular? I think there's a North Macedonia and then there's a Macedonia. And
I didn't
think
realize that.
North Macedonia had to change something about their, I don't know what it was, but Macedonia, North Macedonia, I think it's North Macedonia, also beat Italy out of the last World Cup. They didn't qualify for the World Cup, but they beat Italy, kicking Italy out. I think that's what the story was.
And you don't like Italy? Like you don't like
annoying.
Italy soccer-wise or like
that's
Italians?
interesting. Is there another Macedonia? Or is it just North Macedonia? I
Oh,
felt
that's weird. Yeah, maybe Macedonia is like understood to be a part of Greece or something.
It also might be an old name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there is. This is all like former, you know, Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
North Macedonia. I think that they had some issue with, I want to say, Albania or Kosovo about literally the way they like described their country. I think maybe that's why they're North Macedonia is because they didn't like, because Macedonia is like maybe like a classically like a Kosovar or Albanian. Yeah, I think this is it where they were like, you know, one of these places was like, you can't call it just Macedonia.
Interesting.
But the interesting thing about Kosovo, is it Kosovo or Albania? I think it's Albania. Albania it had its own dictator after maybe actually he was a contemporary of Tito in Yugoslavia. Tito was their like strongman that was like in power for like 30 years. But the one in Albania, I think it was Albania, he built bunkers all over the entire country. There's bunkers like everywhere in Albania, and you can like rent them as like Airbnbs.
Whoa, do you think they're nice?
Probably the Airbnbs. I don't think that one is.
Yeah, that one seems a little janky.
But Action Bronson and Dua Lipa are Albanians.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what about South Sudan? What's going on in South Sudan?
South Sudan, famous for obviously the Darfur genocides.
Yes.
That's how it became South Sudan. Is that there's an Arab majority in that country, and they're kind of different than what you would think, but because they don't all look like what we consider Arabs. A lot of them are like if you saw them on the street, you'd go, oh, that's a black guy.
Right.
But they identify as Arab. And South Sudan is like different, like tall black people. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Like very dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. And
Scott just Googled tall black people.
no, but sometimes I would see Sudanese refugees, and it was like immediately obvious. I always knew.
Right.
There was like 3 or 4 guys in the NBA that were Manute Bol, I think, was.
And South Sudan almost beat the U.S. in the Olympics. Recently, which was cool.
There's like all this shit's happening again because there's a civil war in Sudan, and it's not settled. And there was actually like a really funny moment a couple weeks ago where there was that thing that was like all eyes on Rafah. Remember that like AI generated thing that everybody shared?
Yeah.
And then the pro-Israeli people were like, yeah. And then they created their own AI image to share.
Wow. Of South Sudan?
No, it was bring home the refugees.
Oh yeah.
And then like, yeah. There was like a one, I don't know, I don't see it, but
I didn't know this thing was AI generated.
Yeah, that's AI generated.
Wow.
And then they brought theirs that was like bring home the hostages.
Yeah.
So then the pro-Israeli people brought the bring home the hostages one. And then the Sudan people were like all eyes on Sudan. And then I think some Ukrainian people were like, hey, we also got some shit going on. And then there was like a Syria one, but it was all within a matter of a day. It was like,
whoa.
All these people were like, we gotta share our horrible.
There's definitely
AI.
a golden age of AI generated propaganda.
Yes.
My
eyes on Iran. Thank you.
What is going on in Finland?
Finland's interesting. It's obviously like part of the Scandinavian countries. They don't speak the same language as the rest of Scandinavia. They speak a language that only has a
it has no connections to
anywhere around it. It's Hungarian and Basque are the only 2 languages that have any kind of relativity to it. Which doesn't make any sense. But happiest country on earth, really strong economy, great social services like all of Scandinavia. Nokia's from Scandinavia, and so is Angry Bird.
That's right, yes.
What's that called? Z something? I forgot the name of the company. I think they're NATO now. They joined NATO just because they share a border with Russia, and they kind of had to toughen up.
Yeah.
But I've never been. I want to go.
Yeah.
It seems cool. There's like really good skateboarders and snowboarders from there.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there?
You can also take a ferry from Helsinki to St. Petersburg. You used to be able to. I don't know if it's still running.
And okay, someone wakes up in a coma and asks you what's going on in the U.S.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
This is one thing that's really cool.
Yeah, tell me.
All of northern Scandinavia has these people called the Sami people, and they're indigenous. They're indigenous white people.
Yeah.
I think it's like one of the only places on earth where there's like indigenous white.
Wow.
That
is interesting.
Like I know there's indigenous people all over Europe.
No, I understand.
But this is like people living in huts.
Right.
Like they've kept their like traditions. There's people in Russia that are native Russians, but they look like Native Americans or like Turkic people with the kind of Asiatic eyes and stuff like that. The Sami are very unique because they're kind of like integrated into the society and protected, and they go across all of Scandinavia.
What's your ethnic background?
Man, these people are wild.
Whoa.
And all these people have like not the indigenous people, but kind of people across the Turkic region. A lot of them do. They're the throat singers, and they'll have like these like throat singing competitions that go all the way from Mongolia to like basically like Azerbaijan. It's pretty fucking interesting, but it's obviously like this is like where our Native Americans came from, is that they like migrated from the same places.
Oh, wow.
I am just northern white. I don't even think I made France. I think I'm England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales.
Oh, wow.
And then I think I'm Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, or something like that.
Got it.
Like I was like real devastated to see how white I was. And then like this, I had a joke about this for a while, which was like, I got an email one day from 23andMe and they're like, hey, good news. We found out that you're 3%. Yeah, that's me. That you're 3% Sicilian.
Oh.
And I was like,
Fuck yeah,
Mamma mia,
yeah.
you know, like, here we fucking go. And then they sent me an email like 2 hours later. Hey, sorry, that was a mistake. It's like, what the fuck?
Devastating.
Yeah.
So if someone wakes up from a coma and is like, Andy, what's going on in the United States? What would you tell them?
Right now?
Yeah. Like, how would you summarize the political situation in the United States?
Urban elites have been completely like, just urban people in general have like lost they've been, how would I say this? People in cities are obsessed with city problems and their culture war stuff that is completely, ingermane. Is it ingermane?
Yeah, I don't know. But I see where you're...
To like the larger crisis that's happening in the United States.
Yes.
We lost our complete manufacturing base. People in the Midwest and, you know, just suburbia and stuff like that, they lost their identity. There's nothing. Every single city has been gutted of any kind of culture. And so they're dying for some kind of identity. That's why we have all these guys leaning into man stuff, because there's no jobs anymore that make you feel like a man. And all these guys think to be a man, I have to like use my hands and punch stuff.
I have to find ways to define myself as masculine.
Yeah. And the economy's bad. People are addicted to opioids. There's no jobs. There's no culture. You know, that's why like every single American that is not in a city like loves country music and the Confederate flag, because there was no like bastion of culture that survived any of this. And I think that created a vacuum for, you know, Trump MAGA stuff, where he was like, you're beautiful, you're great. And that kind of was a balm on this like dearth of jobs and identity. And then American liberals and urban people completely missed the mark on this. All these people don't have jobs. Democratic Party used to be like a labor party. We used to be like in auto and steel and mining and things like that, and we used to support those people. But now the Democratic Party's like, slay queen, it's Brat Summer, and it's like, how does that help somebody in Pittsburgh who's like, you know, half their family died of an opioid crisis, you know, like. So
this leads me to my next question, which is the social media thing of Kamala as Brat. You don't think that's gonna
I think it's horrible.
You don't think
all
that's
of I mean, I think she has a good chance. I think she has energize people, and I think something that we always forget about is that like a huge voting block is black people. And so she might get the South back. She might get some states like North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana. I don't think Latinos are super excited about her, but maybe. But I just think this is the problem with the Liberal Party. Is this has nothing to do with what's actually going on, like with our country. And that's all liberals can do, is be like, you know, I'm gagged for Kamala. I'm fucking gagged, queen. And it's like, okay, well, most of the country can't pay for like food. So that's cool that you have like a $2,000 Mason Margiela jacket and you can speak like, you know, the queen or whatever. It's just such an identity crisis. And also it's just, we're so apathetic too. So
you're not apathetic. You seem quite invested.
Yeah, but I think I have the wrong kind of like, I've never talked about this stuff and had people go like, you know what, I actually am inspired to like enact change. It's a bummer to hear this stuff. And people don't want to change. They like it. If you live in New York City and you make $120,000 to $150,000 a year and this is your identity. It's great. That must be so great. You're going out for drinks and you don't have to go to fucking Cleveland ever, you know? But, you know, I think all this stuff has like repercussions. I think that we're headed towards a super dark time in America if Trump wins again. And I also think that for me, all of this comes back to like that there's a global ecological crisis that is going to just devastate entire populations. People have no idea what's going on because they don't care. It's so much easier to just be like, what's the new
It's really hard to think about it in a real way.
But that's what the entire crisis in everybody thinks the crisis in Europe with the refugees is solely about war.
No, it's definitely
it's climate change
for sure.
And all those people are like walking across the world to live somewhere because they can't live there. It's inhospitable. And you know, it's just like everybody goes, oh, that's bad. Even liberals are the climate change people. But like I live in a building full of liberal people. And none of them know how to recycle. It's just like, it's like we're so far off the mark. Electric cars are kind of like a salve. But I mean, look,
to be fair, I mean, I don't think this is how they would say it, but it seems like individual decisions to recycle
they're not going to do anything.
Negligible.
The only way that we could really turn this around is if industry, especially shipping and trucking are like our two biggest polluters. And that's probably, it's like China, India, us, Canada, lots of countries. They want to get the stuff out of the ground and they'll burn whatever to get it.
For sure.
They don't care. I mean, Justin Trudeau, you always think Canada, like, oh, they must be good and liberal. And then like Justin Trudeau is like extending all this like pipeline legislation because he has to stay elected to get all those like prairie provinces to vote for him. And so he's like, we're going to lower, you know, we're going to meet Paris Accords, even if the Paris Accords fall apart. But then he's like still actively supporting the oil industry. It's all a mess.
Do you think climate terrorism is a useful tactic for?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think anything to shake people up. I think also people are probably going to have to see, because like, you know, there was those moments during COVID where you were like, oh, humanity kind of like real humanity kind of reared its face. We got on Zoom and we like, fuck, God, I hate how serious I've been this whole podcast. I just realized how fucking earnest I've been. God damn it. You're supposed to be a fucking goofball. What am I fucking on the Daily Show?
To be fair, I started the podcast by asking what's going on with Switzerland. So, you know, I didn't set you up to be hilarious, but
I've been gay and retarded
exactly.
this whole time. No, it's I think anything that shakes people up is good. I think like people like, you know, it's like people are going to have to like watch their neighborhoods flood and like they're going to have to like wait in line for groceries and shit like that. And then they'll be like, oh, it isn't Brat Summer. This is Brat Summer.
Has having a child made you more or less hopeful?
More. Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, it's like a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like, you do comedy for so long and you're just chasing a laugh.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what dumb friends can I find tonight to hang out with? And it's pretty selfish.
Yeah.
Like as an entire industry. But it's fun and it's great. We make people laugh. But then you have a baby and you realize like, oh, there's all this like real life. Because I think as comics, we like pick apart life so much that we kind of go like, oh, that's like silly that you would care about like eating dinner with your family.
Yes.
And then you have a family and you eat dinner with them and you're kind of like, oh, this is actually kind of beautiful. And this is like actually like I will remember some of my best shows on my deathbed, which is probably coming soon. But you know, I'll also I'll remember these little moments, and you know, it's so intense. She needs you so much. She's so enamored with you, which for me, like somebody who's like kind of like probably on a spectrum of some sort to like have these like emotional kind of connections with people. I don't think people leave conversations with me a lot going like, I felt so listened to, you know, like I think a lot of people are like, that glassy eyed man creeped me out.
You are on a spectrum of some sort? Is that true?
I'm guessing.
Oh, you're
I've
guessing.
never been
You've never
diagnosed.
been. Yeah.
Just because I I think I know a lot of facts, and
Yes.
I don't know how to connect with people.
I was going to ask how you know all this stuff about so many countries. It's like a dumb thing to ask, but I am curious. Obviously, you're well traveled.
I like the news.
Yeah.
I find news to be very stimulating and just information like that. I also got really like into that kind of like specifically post-Soviet kind of, oh yeah, gaze avoidance, discomfort starting conversation. Yeah, discomfort with parties, somewhat difficult interacting with strangers. Depends. Socially withdraws. Yes. Socially avoidant. Somewhat. Don't like unexpected challenges to this is the middle of the Venn diagram.
Yeah. For a second, I thought the first thing said Gaza avoidance.
Gaza avoidance. Yeah, I don't talk about Gaza.
Yeah.
I'm autistic.
Special interests. I guess that.
Yeah.
applies, yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely like, I think I would qualify for some kind of neurodivergent. I would never lead with it though, like some kind of victim.
No, sure, yeah.
I hate when I see that stuff.
Yeah.
I do think that makes me, that's like something that I'm like an old man about.
Yeah,
Like
no,
all this-
I feel you.
All
Yeah.
this like victimhood stuff where
Yeah.
people are like, I was talking to my neuronormal coworkers today,
Yeah.
and they asked me
They
why.
say neurotypical, right?
Yeah,
They say
neurotypical
Yeah.
coworkers today. This is like a TikTok I saw,
Yeah.
and they asked me why I kept on turning the music down. They don't realize, and it's
Sound
like,
sensitivity. That's
Yeah.
a big one. Yeah.
something like that, and it's like, oh, shut the fuck.
I do
up.
think, yeah, I think like I suppose a value you could attribute to conservatism is like individual resilience.
yeah,
I think left people often like to just point to systems. Things are wrong because of this larger
but
system.
also systems help.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah, but I just mean it's like if something bad happens, the typical like progressive explanation is often like this larger system went wrong. And I do think there is value, even if that's true, that systems matter and have influence over our lives. It is good to also just be like, yeah, but individually, I could have done some things differently. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it all comes down. I don't even think this is like a big deal. Like, it doesn't bother me that much.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy with everybody having their own titles and
Yeah.
whatever they want to get into. I think I'm too old also to like be involved with this. But I like this guy a lot. I think he's very funny. But it's like I'm in that space of like where I think at first when there was people that were like going like, this person dead named me, or this person didn't want to learn my pronouns, I was kind of like, okay, well, let's, because I'm on the other side of it. It's like I'm extremely liberal, but I also think like it's unrealistic to expect like the average American to have the like social literacy of like an Oberlin student.
Definitely, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Would you say you're liberal or left wing? Because sometimes people differentiate this too.
I don't even know if I'm that liberal. I'm pretty liberal. Like I believe in like a socialist democracy.
Yeah.
And I think everybody should be able to do what they do. But I also think like I kind of have a weird thing where I think government should get involved. Like,
Should get involved. Yeah.
Yeah. Like vapes should be illegal.
Yeah. Sure.
Vapes completely should be illegal.
Yeah.
I vape too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is like, it's just poison. We're just putting battery poison in my head all day.
What do you think of capitalism as a general idea and entity?
I mean, it's great if you're rich, right? But like I probably would be saying a different story if I like had navigated. I was totally set up to navigate it well too.
Right.
Like I definitely had all of the assets besides like a lot of confidence. And
You're not confident.
I don't know. I have never navigated something super like business type of stuff. But
People look at someone like you, tall, blonde, handsome guy, would be like, I want this guy to be confident.
yeah, I think that's actually why like my stand-up is also, I think that's been, I think a lot of times when you look at a guy like me, you expect me to, not that I'm trying to denigrate him at all, but Francis Ellis makes perfect sense.
Yes.
He's a beautiful
He does make
Aryan
sense. Yeah.
king.
Yes.
And he talks about going to Harvard.
Yes.
And how good he is
And
at these
fully,
white
like,
sports.
Yeah, and like embodies.
And he's got the kind of, he like leans into his wealth and things like that.
Yeah.
I love Francis, by the way. Really, he's a great guy.
No, sure, but he knows, he like really plays.
But
the
that
archetype.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense that guy is like that.
Yeah.
I get up there and people are like, let me hear about like your wild what's it like to be a bro? And I'm like, I'm actually pretty devastated by this thing I saw today.
Was your opener for a while like I look like the villain in a ski movie or something like that?
Yeah. That was like, I hate that. I'm like,
I'm
so
sorry
formulaic.
I just remember
no,
that.
because I have one now where I open.
Oh, you have a different one. Okay.
Yeah. It just breaks the ice that I'm aware that I'm kind of off-putting.
Because I've always thought about, and sorry to keep interrupting, but you and Matthew Broussard have like similar openers.
Yeah, actually, I think the first time I met Matthew Broussard, I really didn't like him because he was like, "Hey, man, just so you know, that's my joke." And I was like,
he would say it exactly like that too.
He just like walked up to me outside of the West Side, and I was like, "Fuck you! Like, I don't even know you. Like, what are you talking about?" And also, like, I had a big head then because I'd just done like a half hour, and I was like writing on a sitcom. I was like, fuck you. Yeah. Who are you?" And then I like Matthew, but it's like I think Matthew's a little different because I think Matthew he's similar in that sense, but he's still kind of confident, and he's still
is. Yeah, I would also say
like
he's
a swimming champion.
He's further down or up or sideways on the spectrum than you are. I would say.
I would say that like my greatest gift is, and like my wife reminded me of this, which is like my empathy, because I have had a difficult time adjusting to things like depression and addiction and things like that. And I also had like kind of a rough childhood with like a mom that was just absolutely depressed all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I've gone through those things, but then I have jokes. Like I have a joke about the Challenger explosion. And
one of my favorite jokes.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But, it's about how the people who it's basically, you can Google it or whatever, but it's like, there's this astronaut Hall of Fame, and like there's some people that don't get into it. They're actually selective. They're like, these people are in it, these people aren't. It's not just every astronaut. And there's also only 91 astronauts total. That's like how many people we've sent to space total. I think.
Wow. Oh,
it's not like it's a surprisingly low number.
Yeah.
You can look it up. But so it's not everybody. And then, so you're imagining that you are not in this and you must feel left out. And then you see the entire Challenger crew in there and you're like, wait a second. So I think that is something that's like a gift, in that like, I know what it's like to, I think something that I like about my experience, and I'm very mad at myself for being earnest this whole time, but I'll continue to say it, is that I have so many moments where it's like, that is such a funny way to get turned down, or like I one time got fired from a job by the I was at Bleacher Report. I was like making a cartoon for them, and it was like the second season was coming up, and the boss calls me and she goes, "Good news, we got a second season. Bad news, we are not bringing you back." And I was like, why do you think this is good news? It was also my show. Like I created
they
it.
took it from,
Yeah. And it was just so funny. Like I have so many stories, and I think all like my best sex stories are like about times that I like flubbed. Yeah. Like a hot girl was hitting on me and I was like, I actually have to get home, young lady.
You enjoy, there's a way in which you enjoy failure.
Yeah. Cause I mean,
you can like stand outside of it for a second and be like, this is funny. If the failure has a certain,
it's also so much more like unique. Like there's so many people like tonight, all over the world, people are going to go to nightclubs and they're going to have great times. And they're going to fuck somebody and it's going to be an awesome story. But like there's going to be somebody who also like forgets their passport and then their phone dies and they're stuck outside of the club where like all of their friends are like having the time in their life. And then they're eventually going to like walk the wrong way down an alley and then they're going to get robbed. And then they're going to like, in the morning show up after having like this horrible night. And that's such a more memorable story than the guy that's like, dude, I got pussy again. I think that's like also, that's what storytelling is. Storytelling isn't like, we don't give a shit about just like people having a great time.
You didn't like Entourage?
I mean, it was fun.
I liked it for a while.
It was like, it was a good time, but it was like,
My take on it is that Entourage would have been a great show if they fully leaned into the fact that Vince was a bad actor.
Yes.
And that was like a part of the story.
They couldn't do it though because it was
because Adrian Grenier is a bad actor, so they could.
What's his name? Johnny was supposed to be their bad actor.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, they could. Right, they already had that.
They had to take Johnny out and then make,
and
then make Adrian Grenier.
Yeah. When you get a win of any kind, something goes on in your career, personally,
It
whatever?
goes straight to my head. I'm immediately buying like Yeezys.
Is that
Like,
true?
Yeah. Like every time I've gotten
Yeah.
a job, I've immediately started buying streetwear and like
And are you like, this is gonna go on forever?
always.
And
I've never saved a penny. I'm so bad. There's so many people out there that like saved money, put
Yeah.
it into Bitcoin. Like for how the amount of money I have saved for old age
Yeah.
is like terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, but I also am not too worried about it. So,
But then, so there's not a part of you where when something's going well, you don't go mentally like, well, maybe this will all fall apart.
yes. And
That does happen too.
It basically goes like, when's the bottom going to pull out?
Yeah.
Because this must be too good to be true.
So once you buy your third pair of Yeezys, at that point, the bottom starts to come.
Yeah.
to
Like
you.
I had a job working for these crypto guys in England. I was like running social media for their football team that they bought.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a dream job, and they paid me so much money.
Yeah.
And they brought me on as a full. Literally, they were like, "Do you want your title to be director of vibes?"
Whoa.
It was so silly, and they had so much
You're
money.
a funny person to be director of vibes.
Yeah, because I don't have
You're
vibes.
well, the vibes are morose.
That's how autistic.
Yeah.
That's how autistic these people were.
Yeah.
But it was like really fun, and I got to commute to England, and I had my own
Wow.
apartment in London. It was
That's
amazing.
awesome. When was that?
End of 2022.
Mm.
But I kind of like, around like it started in June, and then around like October, I was like, wait a second, this isn't really going great, and communication isn't great.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh fuck, I better like get it together. But it like I think both of the times that I've recently had great employment has been like 6-month stints.
Yeah.
I also like another thing I have a problem with is I've never fully leaned into stand up as like an identity.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, like I tour, I headline.
Yeah.
But I've always kind of been like, but I'm going to write, but I'm going to do this, or maybe I'll like want to do this eventually when.
You think that's an issue?
Yeah, of course. I think you have
Interesting.
to fully go. I mean, stand up is a fucking brutal thing.
Yeah. I think I interpret it differently. I think it makes you're clearly well-rounded and you have a variety of interests, and not all of them are going to be served by stand-up.
By the way, all of this stuff that I'm saying now is like past thinking. It's like now I'm like in a place where
now
like,
you're just like,
I have a
happy.
kid.
Yeah.
I've had some amazing experiences through comedy.
Yeah.
I think that when the next opportunity comes along, I'm going to treat it a lot different.
Yeah.
I'm sober. I'm in therapy. I'm like all these things. But I'm like I said, it's like I think I almost embrace these stories of failure because I think they're more interesting. I think it's so much more interesting to be a jackass. It's funny to be a jackass and spend your retirement money on shoes that don't matter.
Yeah.
It's not that funny when you're like elderly and you have to live in community housing in Newburgh. But yeah, I mean, it's like past thinking, and I'm like pretty content now, and I'm like actually finding peace with stand up and kind of like leaning into it and being a little bit more like, even though I'm not famous and even though I'm not rich and I'm not selling out these, like I have so many friends that like, they sell out all this shit.
Sure.
And even though I don't do that, it's like I still get to do stand up every night at the Comedy Cellar, which is like kind of a dream that I always wanted to do. And I get to be involved in some pretty cool stuff. And through my friends that are super famous and successful, I've gotten to like play these giant theaters and really have fun. And I have these blips where it's like I'll get a job and all of a sudden I'll get to like commute to England and do a bunch of comedy in England. I'm never the famous guy, but I still am like living a pretty amazing life.
Do you still want to be famous?
I mean, I think I only want fame in the sense that it would be a validation of like my comedy reaching people in a,
of course,
and it would also mean like I looked at those Netflix is a joke pictures from the Comedy Cellar or Comedy Store. And it was like, I always wanted to be in those black and white photos of a generation of comics.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not going to be in those black and white photos.
Right.
It's going to be Theo. It's going to be Shane. It's going to be Norman, etc.
Right.
And even that's not really that important because like we don't give a shit about Freddie Prinze Jr. anymore. Nobody cares, and nobody cares about fucking Bob Hope. Like,
wait, junior or senior? Isn't senior the one who?
Senior. That's what I meant. Yeah.
And he blew his brains out after.
And Freddie Prinze Jr. I don't think we care about him very much either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
great teen actor in his heyday, but it's like you want to be validated. You want to think that you're doing comedy at the highest caliber but that's not, it doesn't mean that if you don't do it, it's not that. I want specials that are lasting.
Yes.
I'm the same age as John Mulaney. I've been doing comedy the same amount of time as him.
Yeah.
And I've watched him grow and evolve and kind of do these things. And I wish that I had that in my career, but that doesn't mean that like what I do is pointless.
Yeah.
But do I still want a Netflix special that a lot of people like?
Yes. Yeah.
Do I want to play theaters where I feel a wave of laughter engulf me? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But you have felt that. I mean, I guess through opening for people, so it wasn't your. But you have.
It's fun. Theaters. I mean, that's also like a fun challenge because you're like.
They're there for someone else, but
and they don't want to like you.
Yeah, exactly.
They're annoyed that you're out there.
Yeah,
and so it's pretty fun to.
Who have you opened for?
I've opened up for Stav a couple times. I've opened up for Tim a couple times. I've opened up for Normand a couple times, and then a bunch of random. Yeah, like
I feel like Stavros' audience. My guess is they are open-minded, and
they're the coolest.
Yeah, they're like, oh, whoever.
Tim's are fun. I like Tim's audience because they are like a hybrid of like they're conservative, they're kind of edgelord, but they're also like they're there to see a gay man.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So it's kind of a breakdown.
And then Mark Norman's audience, I would imagine they just like comedy. So
they just like comedy. Yeah. But I think because it's like the Rogan tangent, that there's a lot of dudes there that are like, I was out in Seattle and it was such a weird place for this to be, but they were like absolute animals.
Yeah.
Like they were absolute. It was carnage. It was like the most wasted, like interrupty, like they just wanted like, trans people, Chinese people, like.
So if you start saying liberal stuff on stage, it might elicit a negative reaction.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, it wouldn't even get a negative reaction. You just get like
they
confusion,
just wouldn't. Yeah,
you know. It's like one time, my parents, my dad and my stepmom, they always wanted to see comic book videos or movies, like the Marvel movies. And my stepmom, when Black Panther comes out, she's like, I don't want to see it, and we were like, why? And she was like, I don't know. I just don't think I want to see it. So we were like, all right, let's go see a movie. And we went and saw Annihilation, which is a very movie. Artistic, metaphysical, existential movie, right?
Yeah.
And that's because they wanted to see a movie, but she was too internally racist to deal with this. Yeah. So she goes and she has to see Annihilation. And when we walked out of the movie theater, it was like they just had been short circuited, and it was so beautiful because there was just waves of black children in their Wakanda outfits just running past them, and we were just in the rain, and my elderly parents were just like, "What just happened?"
Yeah.
I saw a deer that had mutated.
Yeah. Remember the bear that growls with the death screams?
Yes.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, that was a fucked up movie.
Yeah,
good. Anyways.
Okay, we do a segment on this show called Word of the Week. This week's Word of the Week is gooning, meaning to masturbate.
Is that what gooning is?
That's what people mean when they say gooning.
Okay, yeah.
What did you think of that?
Kind of like causing trouble, like.
I think it could mean that, and then there's like an older version of it where it's like rappers will like bring their goons, like their. But I think gooning is yeah, I mean, this is like a long-winded Urban Dictionary definition of it, but yeah, it just means like being horny, masturbating, etc. What do you think of this word for masturbating? Do you think it's funny?
It's funny.
Yeah, it really.
I like gooning.
It really makes me laugh.
It really comes like it's like it's got like a musicality to it.
It does, and also it's like it's if there's an accuracy
I hate the like this description.
No, I hate it too. Yeah, Scott, we got to get this off the screen.
But it's so icky.
I think it's, and the only reason is because I think sometimes people on Urban Dictionary they test out their like writing skills, but they're
this guy it'd be so funny if that was in his freelance copywriting portfolio.
But yeah, gooning's so fun. Also, I think it's an interesting. I think it's like,
what is this segment called?
Word of the Week. I think it's interesting that Gen Z came up with it, presumably. I think it's a Gen Z creation. Yeah. So I think Gen Z stereotypically is kind of anti-sex, or sort of like being horny is gross and kind of...
Well, I think they've embraced so much of being a indoor kid
yes.
who's a nerd.
Exactly. Yeah. And then
But what's so weird?
simping too. Simping is a big
Yeah.
Gen Z thing. So it's when you like publicly display like sexual attraction. So I think it's like funny to, but I got to give it up to them. Like gooning as like you do become a goon when you pleasure yourself. It is like a very
all of my masturbation now is like very like it's done quickly and privately,
Yeah.
and all of the evidence is
it's so animalistic.
the private browsing window is closed. All those things are
You still fuck with incognito mode.
yes,
Yeah.
100%.
I've done a joke about incognito mode a couple times, and sometimes people will be like, "No, I don't use it. I just go on the."
Well,
the
I
main."
think everybody else is like totally fine with jerking
Yeah.
off now. It's so weird though, because it's like they are kind of like
And porn's on everything. Porn's on
asexual.
X and Reddit, and it's like everything's become porn.
yeah, that's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
everybody's like, sorry, I feel a burp coming on.
Let it out.
Okay, there we
you
go. Sorry, I have COVID. But they
Doesn't matter anymore.
like they're not having physical sex, but they're so publicly like just jerking off to OnlyFans.
Right. Yeah.
I did this. I'm like still contractually obligated, so I'm probably doing something wrong, but I don't give a shit. So I did this like comedy thing for.
the OnlyFans comedy. Yeah. Right.
And the whole thing was like, we'll give you money, you'll put a setup, and then maintain a page, and you'll get like a Patreon kind of following from it. And I didn't do a great job of it, but I did an earnestly like I'm gonna kind of give it a shot.
I remember when you announced it. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of my messages have been women soliciting their OnlyFans page.
Yeah.
And gay men asking me to post topless shirts.
Yeah.
Or topless pics. And it's so funny. It's like they were like, no, we're really gonna foster this comedy
it's legit.
community.
No, this is
and
yeah,
it's just like every day I have to open my OnlyFans account to post something because it's part of my contract.
Yeah.
And then just like erase like 19 pictures of a woman's vagina that have been like, sent to my DMs.
Yeah, it's so funny how it's funny how OnlyFans kind of just replicates capitalism at large, which is there's like a tiny sliver of people that are making a lot of money on it, and then a massive underclass of people just kind of grinding it out.
It's I think that is.
Do you make money from OnlyFans?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, if I really leaned into it, I probably could do it.
Yeah.
I would say this is like another like thing that I've never really mastered, which is like self-promotion.
Yeah.
It's like it's easy to put a clip up and go like, hey, come to my shows. These are my shows that are coming up. But this like chase people down, engage, ask over and over again,
retweet compliments,
and also retweeting compliments. Yeah, there I am.
Was this Threads? Oh no, this is OnlyFans. Sorry. Yeah. I like Arsenal FC and hiking deep into the. What do you like hiking deep into?
I don't even know what that says.
What's the scream? Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I just was trying to be silly.
Yeah.
It's pretty cringe.
Okay, let's Scott, can we pull up the painting? Do you like paintings, Andy?
Yeah.
What do you think of this painting?
I really like it. It reminds me of kind of obviously there's like what's the title of it?
The Orator.
And it's Kunst?
It's Magnus Zeller.
Okay.
But possibly, I don't know anything about Kunst, maybe a contemporary of Kunst.
I'm thinking of Klimt. That's what I was thinking of when I said Kunst.
Got it, yeah.
Authoritatively.
I believed it.
It reminds me, it's obviously of that like kind of, what year is it? Yeah.
Yeah, 1920.
So it's probably like a contemporary of Picasso. It's got a little bit of a blue theme.
Oh, yeah.
But it really reminds me of, I can't remember, I think it's the WPA, or I can't remember that. There was like a big arts initiative in the United States around the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And that's where I see like a lot of really great murals and public art, like things that were, and there's something very like, even though they're all worshiping this one
and
kind of person.
For anyone who's not watching but listening, can you describe what's going on in this painting?
So there's a man on a stage who's kind of evangelizing, almost like raising his hands up to the sky, and people around him are like in a rapturous either state of ecstasy or kind of lurching towards him, reaching towards him in a kind of deified way. There's a few outliers. There's a boy that's kind of confused by the whole thing, and there's like a man that appears to be angry, or a couple angry men in the back. There's also a shadow figure that I don't really understand.
Oh, where's the shadow? Oh,
To
the
the
guy
left,
in the
yeah.
yeah.
But and there's a woman who
Oh, it
is
almost
very,
looks he's about to stab him.
yeah. There's something kind of. I think he might.
I never noticed that before.
Yeah, that does look like he's gonna stab him. But
And what I like about this painting is that it's so horrifying.
yeah, there's something very.
It's dark. It's very sinister.
Yeah, there's something like it's almost like he's. Yeah, I don't know. What do you call that? Occultish about.
Yeah.
it, you know?
Yes. Very much.
Like
so.
he's conjuring. But it really reminds me. I think America, like the best we ever were. Besides like socially, because we were always like very racist and militaristic, but like on a street level was like between the Great Depression and the 50s when we like had actual public art that had meaning and things like this. Like if you go to the Chrysler, I think it's the Chrysler building, it's like covered in Diego Rivera.
That's right.
murals.
Yes.
And that was all paid for.
It's just kind of crazy. This like
and it
communist.
was all they stopped him halfway because it was like way too communist.
Yeah. This painting I saw at LACMA years ago, and I was there with Brad Selnitzer, who you know.
Yeah.
And we were like, "Oh my god, this guy's killing." that's the first thing we were like, dude, this dude's crushing so hard. That's amazing. But I've never stopped thinking about it. I think it is I don't know. It might be my favorite painting because I always think about it. The first, I guess as a performer, like I mean, we were joking, but there is a sense in which you kind of want that to happen when you do stand up. Like that's the dream, is like you want to be this like I think it speaks to the kind of sinister inspiration of being any kind of performer whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then also, you know,
well, there's something just absolutely like everybody wants to be famous now because of social media. It's totally normal to just like put yourself on camera and hope that people celebrate you. That's the simplest term.
Yes.
But it's absolutely insane to design your life around this kind of reception.
Yes.
And I have to do it every night. Every night I want people to kind of worship me or to undulate.
Have you ever had a show where that looked like this, where you
not in a good way? I had one time I was like in DC and I was like doing this. It was kind of a corporate show, but it wasn't. It was just in the basement of a hotel. It was every week, but it was in this conference room. It was called the Laugh Riot at the Hyatt in Bethesda, Maryland. And it was like a lot of people that stayed there were people that had come to DC for something, right? Okay. And this happened to be the week that I kind of started in DC. I'm from Seattle, but I started in DC. And this was the week of the Tea Party, you know? So it was like these people like had marched on Washington. And then I was like making fun of that. I was like, you guys see these assholes that marched on Washington, these with the fucking tea bags on their head? Turned out everybody in the audience was there for the teabag convention, and they literally started. There was like a few people that weren't, and they started like being like, "Shut the fuck up!" And then they were like all screaming. The show had to be stopped. Yeah, and like not like stopped like, "Hey, we're stopping. We're gonna calm down. Host will come back up."
Show's over.
Just
completely.
Andy, get off the stage. The show's over.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, you got reverse oratored.
Yeah. But I've had some shows where like I crushed. Yeah. And I really felt pretty amazing afterwards. Yeah. But I would say that more of what I want is kind of a rhythm. You know, I don't want people to.
Yeah. You want to be locked in with them, but you don't want them to be worshiping you.
Yeah, and it's also I've seen the worshipped guys. I've been to the shows where like it's just mayhem, and they're just, you know, it's like there's something. I also think it hurts comedy a lot of the time, where it's like people come out and they're just like, you know, like now people worship social media people so much. I've gone to clubs where like these Hodge twins got kids, these Hodge twins who are two conservative black twins. It's great. It's a great future we live in. That like are like pro men's rights and shit like that. And they'll sell out a comedy club in like seconds. Whoa. They'll be like, I'm going to be at the Laugh Shop in Calgary.
But they don't do comedy, or they?
No, they tell funny stories. They tell some anecdotes, things like that. Yeah. But people go and they don't really laugh. Right. And they're not really, but they're in the room with the person and they are happy that they spent $75. It's like completely asinine. It's so bad for comedy, because if that's what entertainment is now, that you just see the people physically, you're just in the same room as them, and it was okay, but you just got to kind of hang out with them for 30, 45 minutes, then like why are we writing jokes? if that's what
question.
audiences want now, you know. So,
do you have time to talk about a poem?
yeah, let me see real quick.
It's almost 5:30.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, cool. Okay, this is called The Urine Specimen. It is a listener submission.
Oh, really?
Well,
is it really?
He didn't write it, but he was like, you should read this. You should talk about this poem. Okay, I can read it or you can read it. What do you prefer?
I'd love to read it. I love reading poetry.
Great. Yeah, please do.
This is The Urine Specimen by Ted Kuzer. In the clinic, a self-bleached shell of stone, on the shore of the city, you enter. The last small chamber, a little closet, chastened with pearl, cool, white, and glistening. And over the chilly well of the toilet, you trickle your precious sum in a cup. It's simple as that. But the heat of this gold your body's melted and poured out into a form begins to enthrall you, warming your hand with your flesh fevers in a terrible way. It's like holding an organ, spleen or fatty pancreas, a lobe from your foamy brain still steaming with worry. You know that just outside, a nurse is waiting to cool it into a gel and slice it into a microscope slide for the doctor who in it will read your future. Wringing his hands, you lift the chalice and toast the long life of your friend there in the mirror, who wanly smiles but does not drink to you.
What do you think of this poem?
It's beautiful.
You like it?
Yeah.
I
don't like love the subject matter, but it does.
Yeah, but despite the subject matter,
it invokes a lot of.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that this is like this is the thing about it that I've been complaining about this whole podcast in a very unfunny way. But it's like, this is what art is supposed to do.
Yes.
Art is supposed to conjure a human feeling. Art is supposed to make you go like, that is my experience.
Yes.
And I feel seen in the universe, even if it's fear and hate, any of those things. And
this poem makes you feel seen in the universe?
I've had this experience. I've had these feelings. And the thing that's beautiful about it is I couldn't even describe it as this, but now that it's been described, it's 100% my experience every time I pissed in a cup, you know?
When's the last time you pissed in a cup?
Recently. I've had a
stomach ulcer. Some
and I thought,
issues,
you know, I've gone through like, I don't know, 8 doctors.
Yeah.
Just because you have to go to specialists.
Sure.
And, you know, I thought I was dying the whole time. So I got very like, every time was kind of like, oh fuck, what's this? I got an endoscopy last week.
I've had an endoscopy recently.
How recently?
Like 3 weeks ago.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
It is nice. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Have you had an endoscopy? Dude.
They knock you out. It's awesome.
You take this shit propofol.
Yeah.
And it's
awesome.
I went to get my endoscopy. I walked into the waiting room. They said they're ready for you. The second I'd filled out everything.
Yeah.
I was literally, from walking into the door, 10 minutes later, I was on the bed getting my IV, right? They give me my IV. They're like, you ready to go? They take me into the room. There's my GI. He's talking to me. I really love him. He's an old Jewish guy. Perfect bedside manner. Kind of fun. And he's putting literally what feels like a ball gag in my mouth, because they have to make sure that you don't bite down on the camera.
Yeah.
That they're sticking down your throat. And then he goes, all right, that all sound good? Good. Enjoy your nap. And then I just woke up 30 minutes later with the most euphoric feeling I've had. I mean, it's
awesome.
Pure bliss, right?
Yeah. So I had an endoscopy. A week later, I had a colonoscopy.
Which is better? Colonoscopy is bad because you have to clear your whole system, right?
It's horrible. The day before is the worst. Okay, so I'm on the table. They put me under, and I'm also, by the way, the feeling of anesthesia is crazy, because you're like, it's always like they're like, all right, it's going in, so you're gonna go to sleep pretty soon, and you're like, I'm probably not gonna, and then you knock out.
It's immediate.
It's so weird.
Insane.
It's really like blacking out and waking up. But anyway, put me under. I feel the doctor taking my pants down, lubing up my ass, and he literally goes, "Good night." and he's a.
Did you barf from the stomach potion?
I did not. No.
Yeah, because some people barf, which sounds miserable.
It's horrible.
I had norovirus like July 4th.
What is
that's
norovirus?
Like the 24-hour stomach bug where you just barf and shit everything out of your system, and it was like so bad that it was religious. You know,
wow.
It was like I came out of it like reborn.
Oh my god.
But yeah, why did you have to get both of these,
dude? So okay, this is.
Did you think you have colon cancer?
No, this is a somewhat long story, but to say briefly, years ago, 4 years ago, I had testicular cancer.
Oh shit.
Got it removed. I do follow-ups once a year. I do follow-ups twice a year. CT scan once a year.
Yeah.
Recent CT scan showed inflammation in my stomach. They were like, you should go see a GI. Probably not cancer. It's not cancer, but you should go see a GI. And so then they were like, let's do endoscopy and colonoscopy.
What was it?
The gastritis. It was.
We have the same thing.
Yeah. But
did you have the pain?
No. It's just like
I had some pretty bad pain.
Yeah, that's why I didn't mention it, because it's like I haven't had symptoms that feel that bad. So but
mine weren't that bad, but it was just like I had no when your organs start hurting, there's never like that's probably just a bug. You're like, oh, I'm dying. They're gonna tell me that
the body's scary, man. It's when you go to doctor's offices a lot, it's like,
how old are you?
32.
Yeah, it's like I'm 42 now,
Yeah.
and this is like it's like that perfect time to hear the bad news. It's like that thing where it's like, oh, here, because I'm not young anymore.
No, sure, yeah.
It's like this, this is when things happen to certain people.
Yeah. I remember going to the urologist after getting surgery, and in the room there was a penis pump, just like a display of a penis pump for people that have their prostate removed, I think, and need like to pump up their dick to get hard again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know, I was so scared of the whole, and I was fine by that point. But
did you get a whole testicle removed?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh wow. You and Namesh.
Yeah, and Terrence Hartnett. There's a few comics. And I remember looking at that penis pump, and I was like, there's nothing funny about this to me. I think people joke about, oh, you can't get hard.
Yeah.
Penis, like Austin Powers has like penis pump jokes.
It's so funny.
I just felt like kind of a devastating empathy.
It's so funny because I'm such an asshole and a fucking sociopath that I'm thinking, oh, I have cancer. Like this is 100%. I'm gonna have some kind of cancer. It's gonna be fatal.
Yeah.
But in my treatment and kind of like journey to death, I'll write like a really great hour about this. It'll be so compelling, and they'll have to.
I think, I mean, I never really wanted to talk about cancer on stage. Because I think first I was like, I don't know what to. First, it's like not bad enough.
Yeah.
It was like, I just got, it was fine. I was fine.
That's a good cancer to get, by the way.
It is.
I know that doesn't sound
No, it is.
logical.
It's the best cancer to get.
Like if you get pancreatic cancer, there's nothing. Like pretty much there.
I had one surgery and I never had to do chemo. I was very lucky. Yeah. So that was part of it too. Is I was like, well, what am I going to, it would feel like a bit like stolen valor. And then I think there's also, I don't know, there's too much trauma comedy. There's too much like a single bad thing happened.
And you also have a tone of like, you kind of have like a silly, like your tone is not very extra personal.
No, I like being. I'm very impersonal with my stand-up.
I admire that because for the longest time I had to fucking talk about stuff. Also trying to find my way in seeing what how the tide was going. Where I was like, oh, like people are telling about their trauma now, so I'll try to do this kind of comedy.
I mean, same. When I started stand-up when I was 19, so I would do jokes about, oh, my parents got divorced. It was hard, But then eventually I was like, that sucks. Like So now that I. Whatever. Years later, I'm like, I don't want to even get close to doing that stuff because I can't earnestly make that interesting. Yeah. First, because it's not that traumatic. And also because I don't know, I would like to do something different.
Yeah, it's so weird. I mean, this is like not funny, but there's so many people that have cancer and you just find out about it so casually. And they're like, I had cancer, and you're like, I thought that was like the worst thing ever, and they're like, "No, I just had to do this." And
this. I mean, obviously it's a vast spectrum, and sometimes it is, and sometimes you deal with it, and it's over. And
I remember there was that year where like a bunch of comics got cancer.
Yeah, I know
Jesse Case, Eric Bergstrom.
Yes,
and another guy who his name is Andy. I can't remember his last name. He was a big Austin fixture, and then he had gotten the kind of cancer where it was like he was dead in 8 months or something like that. And it was just like so weird that there's, I think the thing about death that has been, because I had a child recently and that was the beginning of a life. I've thought a lot about my own mortality, but I think it's so bizarre that we walk around knowing that we have an expiration. That's something that's so bizarre about a consciousness.
Yeah, but most of the time you don't think about it.
You don't think about it,
Yeah.
but then when you think about it, you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like someday I'm going to be an old man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be going like, oh, I don't have much time left. And it's going to be like my current reality.
Yes.
And everything is moving towards that.
Yeah.
You know, it's fucking, and also I'll say this, and you probably appreciate this because you are a cancer survivor.
Right, yeah.
Old age is like a gift.
Yeah.
Like,
until it's not, until it sucks.
But
and it's like,
what
why
I'm
am I
saying
still
is
alive?
like most people don't.
Yeah.
Most people don't. A lot of people don't get to make it.
For
Like
sure. Yeah.
I think all of my grandparents died in their 50s and 60s.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and both
like
my
heart
parents,
attacks and stuff, or
couple cancers, couple heart attacks. But I think, you know, both my parents are almost 80.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're fine.
They're good. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's wild.
What's your favorite line in this poem? I'll say mine to give you. So, well, first, I really like that the first like 5 lines are one sentence. It's this kind of like long wind up to the premise of the poem, which is about pissing in a cup. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, this is what this is all leading up to. The heat of this gold, your body's melted and poured out into a form. I love that.
I was going to say.
That's very cool. And then the whole thing about holding an organ.
That was the
a
second one I
lobe
was
from
gonna
your
say.
foamy brain still steaming with worry. That stuff is great. It's very,
And I really liked also, you lift the chalice and toast the long life of your friend there in the mirror.
who does not drink to you. Do you think the poem would be better if he does, if at the end he drinks his own piss?
That's such
really
like
stupid
internet Reddit brain.
Exactly.
Like, this is where the poem should drink his piss. It's like this whole time I'm going like, wow, you have such like a deep understanding of the human condition. It's so much more depth than I expected out of you. And then it's like, oh, but then you drink your own piss.
What's making me laugh about it is how much worse it would make the poem.
Oh yeah,
like it would immediately completely ruin it. And
I feel like that's like every A24 movie.
Yeah,
where it's like, this is cool and awesome and scary, and then they're like, but then he fucks his ghost son, and you're like, all right, well,
is there a specific A24 movie you're thinking of?
No,
I
but
heard Men had kind of a
Men's
ending.
pretty disgusting.
Yeah,
I didn't really like Men.
Yeah,
but I recently, it's not A24, but I recently watched Long Legs, and I found the ending of that to be pretty like,
okay, yeah,
really.
The other thing about this poem, I haven't seen Long Legs, so I don't have a follow up to that. But the thing about this poem I liked or found interesting, I didn't know that's what happens to piss, that they cool it into a gel and slice it onto a micro. I didn't. I learned something from that. I didn't realize that's how they did it.
What's the year on this? Can we find
70 something?
Yeah, I bet they don't do that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bet it gets run through like a machine that just literally like analyzes it without any kind of
laser scans. The piss.
They can tell you. I mean, because I've gotten test results like same day.
Oh yeah,
and I think it just goes into a machine.
Do you, in general, what's your relationship with poetry?
Always liked it, never really engaged it. Wrote a couple poems throughout my life in creative writing classes, shit like that.
What were they about?
I'm in trouble with that person. What was it about? I think when I wrote about this girl who I was in a class with, who was really like overt and kind of, she was like a quintessential like beautiful girl who her whole identity was like summed up in her beauty, and that was like her purpose, but she was like also trapped in it. She had no depth. Because
so you wrote about her. Oh wow.
And then I think I wrote about,
that sounds like an epic takedown of a girl in your class.
But here's the thing, I was like totally like, you know, I had a crush on her and thought she was beautiful, but there was something so sad about it, because it's there's also, I think I was talking about the fact that this was like the only time in her life where this would matter, and it was like her whole, like, I wasn't trying to be mean, but it was, I know,
but the even the fact that you're not trying to be mean makes it even more brutal. It's like, I wrote you a poem, it's incredibly considered, it's about how you're peaking right now, and the attribute that if people find value in you is hollow and empty, and you're in a prison of society's
this is the only thing you've prepared for, and
will you go on a date with me?
If you don't lock it down in the next 5 years, you're going to bloat into an unlovable beast. You know,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful language.
Yeah, thank you.
But
I love poetry.
You love poetry.
I think it's great, but it's like it's this kind of poetry. I'd say contemporary poetry. I don't love like, fucking who's somebody who's like
like older
Chaucer.
Yeah,
I'm not really like reading into that. I'm sure there's beauty in it, and Shakespeare.
I actually do like Chaucer. I read the Canterbury Tales and I found it. This is a kind of a dumb thing to say. I like poems that rhyme.
Yeah,
because rhyming is exciting. Every time there's a rhyme, you're like, oh, that was fun. We got somewhere cool there.
Really fun to go watch famous contemporary American, mid-contemporary, like 50s, 60s, like on TV, we used to have poets.
Yeah,
like poets used to go on like the Playboy Hour or like Ed Sullivan Show, and they would like stand at the end of a piano, smoking and reading poetry on prime time or on late night television.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that.
And there's like Kerouac, and I think I'm trying to think of somebody else contemporary, Ginsberg, obviously,
sure.
But people like that reading their poetry on like the Jimmy Fallon show, essentially.
Right, wow.
Those are really cool to watch.
Can you imagine?
That's on YouTube.
Yeah, and this poem I think is cool because even though it doesn't really rhyme or have like a specific meter, it does have a tremendous musicality. It like every word kind of propels you forward through it, and you kind of like really want to know what's at the end of the next line.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of times contemporary poetry that doesn't have rhyme, doesn't have meter, it's just kind of like wafting around.
Yeah.
Describing like a vague situation, and you're like, what is this about, and why should I care?
Yeah.
But you have to go, I think.
I do, yeah. I got distracted by that phone. I'm sorry.
Andy, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I really, this was a blast.
Yeah.
I hope I wasn't too,
No, you were great. Do you have anything you'd like to mention to the audience?
Just watch me.
You should. Andy's a great comedian. Really one of my favorites.
If you're,
what's the name of your special?
My last special was called The Coward of Gramercy, and that was like 2 years ago. But I'm going to do a new one this next year.
Oh, awesome.
And just follow me. I don't know. Look at like where I'm going to be, and if you're nearby, buy a ticket.
I guess subscribe to his OnlyFans as well.
No, don't.
Okay, don't.
I don't want to give those people a penny.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Andy, thank you very much, man.
Thanks, brother.
Hello, dear.